Welcome to the Droids You Are Looking For Canada on Facebook, on Twitter, now on G+, and the podcast starts now.
This is blasphemy. This is madness.
This is Droid Talk!
Bring me Ferris Boyle.
What do you want with me?
Batman Arkham Origins. Downloadable content. Cold Heart.
The final piece of the Arkham Origins franchise has come to an end and has launched on April the 22nd. And now it includes probably Batman's second arch nemesis. I would say never first, because the first will always be the Joker. Mr. Freeze finally gets his own spotlight in the origin story. Now, all Batman fanboys had to blow out the dust of this game because it was put away just as fast as it was purchased, as the original game itself was quite a disaster. But that time has come, and the downloadable content is here. So, with that said, let's get into the review and see how the downloadable content stacks up against the actual game itself. I will tell you right now, I was in for a surprise.
Storyline.
Now, the download content takes place on New Year's Eve, only a mere few days after Joker basically destroyed half of Gotham, if you want to say that. Especially with all the help from all the hired hands he had, like Deathstroke and so forth, and Bane. But it appears that Gotham finally was going back to normal, and Bruce Wayne can put his infamous mask back on of being Bruce Wayne. And the Batman can finally take a breather. However, I'll try my best not to spoil the downloadable content, but what I will tell you is that the downloadable content to me felt like it stuck very true in terms of the storyline, felt true to Mr. Freeze. During to what appeared to be a humanitarian awards ceremony, Mr. Freeze makes his grand entrance and thus beginning his origin story. Now, a lot of positives came out of this storyline. You find yourself wanting to stay at hand. You found that the storyline was keeping you and that you didn't want to do all the stupid side quests. And there was a few side quests. Now, also the story felt a little natural. Mr. Freeze's character is one of Batman's most underrated villains, in my opinion as well. As much as I'm a diehard Joker fan, Mr. Freeze, let's be serious here, besides the Arnold Schwarzenegger days of cool it, I mean, realistically, he is a very terrifying villain. And, of course, you had to have a storyline with Mr. Freeze. You couldn't have one without Nora. And, of course, the storyline did revolve around that love relationship. And it was a true origin story of the Mr. Freeze. And for the comic book fan and the casual gamer, I'll tell you right now, you didn't feel left down in this storyline. And with that, I gave it 4.5 out of 5.
Gameplay.
So here comes the car accident of the review, and I won't lie to you, it was just another disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. As much as the first part of this review about how the story was great, there's always got to be something that's wrong. And with that said, the gameplay is the problem. Now, if you go back to my podcast review I did with Andrew when we spoke to that, and as well I wrote my actual review for this as well, that is something I really focused on. was the gameplay and the lack of it in terms of the constant glitching, the countering is off, and I found myself constantly stuttering in the actual gameplay, and it just felt like it did not flow. Also, I don't know if this was a difference between the game before and the game now since they added the DLC, but I found that the thugs were unrealistically high in damage resistance. What I mean by that is, Batman is obviously known for his martial arts, his strength, perseverance, what have you. And when I have to hit someone 10 times for them to drop, and keep in mind, when I always play a game through the first time, I always play it on easy because I want to make sure that I got the grasp of everything, and it's still taking 10 hits to put him down, that's a little bit of a problem, and that's a little bit of a flop back onto Warner Brothers with that, because that's a little bit unacceptable. Let's be realistic here. Batman hits you, you're going to hear 3 sounds when Batman hits you. Him hitting you, you hitting the ground, and the ambulance hit 90. You're done. You're sleeping. I mean, come on, the guy makes a living beating the crap out of people and leaving them in the snow. Doesn't kill them, but leaves them in the snow. I think what really bothers me about the gameplay is that they had 7 months to fix this, and they still left it alone. Also, with the grapnel gun, I found that was all over the place. I found that there was multiple times that I'd be using the grapnel gun, and it would not either find a location, or it would shoot me back a different direction that I was actually shooting the grapple gun, and that's very upsetting. Now, the counter system felt it was even more flawed. I found that I'm pretty much a pro at counter systems ever since the days of God of War and etc. But when you're spending this much time and you're hitting high combos and then it constantly goes away and you can't pair up 10 hits, that's clearly an issue. So that could be something that comes with that as an issue with the downloadable content. Now, there was a few side quests for the gameplay portion of it, but they didn't really spend much time in it. And I think that one of the biggest things that really pissed me off about this downloadable content, because there's a mission for you to grab the secondary bomb switch after Anarchy sets off the first one, and you're flying and you're constantly flying and it's telling you where to go, and you go and it's nowhere to be found. I ended up wiping 5 times until finally I looked up, and that's where I saw it. And I was looking up on my original descents and I did not see it, especially when I had my detective mode on. So that's clearly a flaw there. But something they could have fixed upon. And so because of that, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to give it a 2.5 out of 5.
Presentation.
Well, what do? Not only do we add a new villain to a game, but then we add another character, which is an annoying armored thug. Let's put this part out there. Armored, so he's already pissing you off as it is, who can freeze you, which you have to repeatedly press the X button right after until it shatters so you can continue on. Yes, that's what I wanted to do. Besides the ninjas and the midgets and everything else, let's put a freeze guy into it. Why didn't I fucking think of that? Why didn't they just wear parkas? Might as well get that fucking hokey. Yes, if you're clearly wondering, is that annoying? Yes, I found it very annoying because it was to the point where you're taking on 15 guys and you know you have to drop the frozen guy first, so you keep going back to the frozen guy, but yet during the battle you constantly getting jumped by everybody else. So yeah, I'm a little bit annoyed when it comes down to that. So we'll just leave that part alone. But the presentation of the game really, the only difference that they added into this game is that they gave you a Batman's version of Iron Man. Yes, the XZ suit, which is the extreme temperature suit that they gave you, which, you know, this is where it goes downhill. The suit looked awesome. I remember even sending a picture to Rick, who's in a minute on the page, and he's like, that's pretty badass. What's it do? I don't know. Like, I mean, you get thermal gloves, which are shock gloves, just change the color from blue to red. That's it. But you also have the ability to unfreeze cops that have been frozen by, freezing his gang and etc., which is also another side quest. But there was really no change besides that and adding in another building called Goth Corp, which it was very small too. I guess I would expect it for the price tag of $7.99 or $9.99, I believe it was. I got the Season's Pass. That they could have done a lot more with it, and that was really disappointing. So with that, I gave it only 2 out of 5 as well.
Replay value.
Now, would this game even get a replay? I don't know. Like, I mean, I played Harley Quinn's Revenge twice. As much as I liked it, I didn't find much replay value. It's hard to find replay value in a downloadable content unless you're Fallout 3, because that is a game, for some unknown reason, I can constantly keep replaying the game and its downloadable content any given day of the week. But I find that for the amount you put into this game, the amount you get back is not worth it. I think having to find only 12 anarchy tags, unfreeze 20 caps, and do the storyline is really not a lot. But that's fine because the storyline makes up for it. But at the same time, though, that storyline is not so good that you're like, you know what, today I'm gonna play Batman Arkham Origins downloadable content. That's what I want to do. No one is ever going to say that. And unfortunately, with that, 3 out of 5 is the score on that. Unfortunately, the score is just as good as the title. It causes me to have a cold heart.
Overall score.
Overall, looking at 6 out of 10. Like, it's sad that the chapter that closes... This is the chapter that closes Arkham Origins. I expected so much, and that's my problem. The game was shit from the moment it came out. The moment I put the game in, I knew it was going to be shit. After playing it for 5 minutes in the combat section, it was shit. I'm going to keep saying it's shit, and hopefully you can consider that as a subliminal message. It's shit. I mean, as much as people hated the Arkham Origins game, the storyline for the actual game itself and the storyline for the DLC was good. It's just the gameplay, the controls, and what you can do beyond the storyline was garbage. It's kind of like they ran out of ideas and just said, well, we got this game 50% done. We have to backfill it with shit. Well, I got a giant dumpster full of shit behind me. Let's use that. So now, thank Jesus that Rocksteady said, whoa, we are going to make the last one. We're bringing Conroy back, Hamill back, blah, 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 blah. We're bringing everyone back for Arkham Knight. And let us hope, as I end this podcast, we are not disappointed in the final chapter of Batman on a console system.
Game over, man! It's game over!
Thanks for listening to the Droids You Are Looking For podcast. Stay tuned for next week's podcast.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.